He's done it. And look what it means to him. He's through to the final. Agassi is knocked out.
6-4, 6-3, 3-6, 6-4.
Total respect at the net, and what a feeling there must be amongst Ferrero's camp. He kisses his finger, points up to the sky. It's for his mum who died when he was 17. And you can't speak highly enough of this man. He's come into the Arthur Ashe Court, a court that he's never won at before. The first time he's played here this year, and he's knocked out a former champion.
And Andre Agassi.
And the Ferrero camp going wild. And of course, to beat Andre Agassi here at Fleshy Meadows. Such a feat.
It's always a shame to see Agassi knocked out of any event. One hopes we will see him many more times, but obviously at this tournament it is always going to get tougher and tougher for Agassi to win. But for Juan Carlos Ferrero, what a moment. He spent all those hours practicing, and he's climbed the summit of the men's game. Ferrero through to the final. It was compelling viewing.
Come Monday, talk about what this win means to you today.
It means, you know, I worked a lot for this #1, and you know, I'm really happy to be a #1. It's the first time, and I'm gonna work very hard to continue and to be a #1.
This was your first match on this court in this tournament, your first semifinal of the US Open. You're playing one of the greatest hard court players of all time. Was this your best hard court match ever?
I think yes, because I didn't play so good a couple of years in the US Open so good. And this time I think I'm playing very good tennis on hard courts, and I hope to play at the same level in the final.
Do you even care who you play in the finals? Do you have a preference?
I think the crowd has a preference, no, Roddick, but for me, you know, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna focus in my game, and that's it.
Congratulations, well done. Dick?
Yes, all hail the new world #1 king, Juan Carlos Ferrero, through to his first US Open final. This was the moment he defeated the now usurped former world #1, Andre Agassi. Quite a moment, a few tears at the end for Juan Carlos. A moment I'm sure he'll remember for the rest of his life. So we have our first finalist. Will our next finalist be an American? It could well be. Andy Roddick, tournament favourite, coming in back-to-back Masters Series titles en route. He's into the semi-finals of the US Open for the first time in his career. David Nalbandian of Argentina will hope to spoil the party. But a new world #1, you saw it here on Sky Sports Extra. Tremendous performance from Juan Carlos Ferrero. The better man won on the day. Although Andre Agassi gave it his best, but Ferrero a little bit too good.
He came out and played his A game, and he needed to, because I think Agassi he played well, but he got really outclassed by a better opponent. And it was a match of fluctuating fortunes, and that's why we love Grand Slam tennis, best of 5 sets, because it's being able to control mentally your ups and downs. And it's tough to be able to play 10 out of 10 for 3 sets out of 5. You have a dip in form, which is exactly what Ferrero did. Agassi capitalised, and then there was the reverse in the 4th. Ferrero was able to get that little bit extra. I don't know where he got it from to come through and win in 4 sets. It was a fantastic tennis match.
Ferrero's serve, one of the differences today, certainly he got a lot more cheap points right the way through the match than Agassi did.
I really believe if you're going to be world #1, you've got to be able to hit aces when it really matters. Ferrero did it yesterday against Hewitt when he was down 15-40 in the 3rd set. Again here, an important stage of the match, comes up with an ace followed by a very intelligent serve where he takes a little bit of pace off it, makes sure he gets it in, and then dominates with his next shot. And to be honest, Chris, probably this was his winning shot today, that backhand. We talked about a forehand of Ferrero, which is an unbelievable shot, but he also won a lot of points winning that backhand cross-court, which is what we saw, but also down the line.
And that kicking serve that we just saw as well from Ferrero, I mean, Agassi has said himself he doesn't like it up high, and Ferrero time and again was putting it up high, and Agassi was either having to gamble by taking it early or sitting back.
It's a very clever tactic to use on these American hard courts where the ball bounces up a lot. Rafter used it unbelievably well to win his 2 US Opens. If you can kick it wide, it just opens up the rest of the court. And when you have a player like Ferrero, who hits with plenty of topspin and takes the ball early, he's going to dominate a lot of points, and that's exactly what happened. Really, Agassi just couldn't quite get his return deep enough to be able to get himself back in the rally.
Couldn't get himself ahead of the count either, Andre Agassi, in the first couple of sets. I mean, Ferrero was getting the early breaks all the time. Agassi behind the 8 ball straight away.
Agassi responded really well in the first set. He was down 5-2, looked like he was coming back, but it was sort of a game sequence of about 2 or 3 games where Ferrero had a purple patch. He was playing such aggressive tennis, and that was the pleasing thing for Ferrero and his coach today. He went out there and won it. He won it on his terms. When he had that opportunity to really put it to Agassi, he did it. And full credit to Ferrero. You just felt that when you were set up, how often you see someone win the first set, then sit back and let their opponent take control, but not today. Ferrero was hungry for that 2-set lead.
Marcelo Rios is one player I've always looked at and have watched play against Andre Agassi, and he can go toe-to-toe with Agassi and control the points. Ferrero, I haven't seen that from him until today, where he was pretty much right the way through that match, controlling a lot of the baseline exchanges.
I think it's a growing maturity in Ferrero. He's world #1 at the age of 23, and I think it's a perfect age. Agassi was giving him a lot of power, but Ferrero just nonchalantly, he was just hitting it back with interest, and that's really what rocked Andre Agassi. Agassi was hitting his best shots, but Ferrero was just soaking it up and hitting winners off his own, and it's tough mentally for Agassi if you're playing great tennis and your opponent's just hitting winners. And then this is fantastic anticipation from Juan Carlos Ferrero, and then that beautiful pass, showing he's got some class as well and some touch. And to be able to win on clay, you've got to have a bit of feel, but he's now starting to show it on a hard court, and that will give him a huge amount of confidence, Juan Carlos Ferrero. People doubting whether he'd win a Grand Slam. He won the French. People saying, well, he's won the French, but he won't win on hard. He beats Agassi on his home patch. Now, world #1, now all he has to do is to try and convert tomorrow and really to be deservedly world #1, because I think if you look at his performances this year, I think he's there on merit.
Certainly Ferrero in control for 2.5 sets. Do you think he second-guessed himself a little bit in the middle of the third?
You're going to have a dip. I think it's near impossible to play the level Ferrero did today for 3 sets. Agassi, I think maybe was waiting for that dip, but, you know, Ferrero in the middle, probably the important stage was when he had, I think he had a break point, he had a second serve on his forehand, and he just snatched on it a little bit, and there was a sort of a negative reaction. I'm wondering whether Agassi picked up on that, because straight away, the next 2 or 3 games, Agassi looked rejuvenated. He looked like he was a new man, looked like he really believed. And they're the sort of things top players look for when you're playing on the big stage. Is my opponent struggling? Is my opponent feeling confident? And I think maybe Agassi did cling to that, but Ferrero came back so well.
Because when he did almost second-guess himself, as you said, had a dip, there was a definite momentum change as far as the match was concerned.
Well, it certainly was, and Agassi played his part. I think it's right that we take something from Agassi, because he sees, you know, Ferrero is a little bit behind the baseline. Agassi just absolutely nailing the ball, giving it his all, as he did in the whole match, and showing that he's got some juice on his own when he's, you know, a couple of feet behind the baseline. And that was all-important break in the third set, and you felt, you know, is Agassi going to capitalise on this? Is he going to take the match to 5 sets? But Ferrero, you know, knuckled down. Maybe two times in the match didn't Ferrero show negative body language. I think that shows why he is such a hard player to beat.
Plenty of courage at the end. And Agassi again, when Ferrero was serving for a place in his first US Open final, serving for the world #1 mantle, and he did show a lot of courage because Agassi was pressing to break back.
Difference between Ferrero tonight and Capriati last night. Ferrero was nervous, just like Capriati, but he's prepared to take that risk.
That was a break point.
That was a break point and a huge point, but he's still, he's not waiting for Agassi to miss. Thorough belief on the shot, and that shows great courage. I mean, to be able to hit that shot, first game of the match is unbelievable. To be able to hit it when you're down break point, when you're serving for the match, when you're up 2-0 and you lost the third, I think it shows a sign of a man who definitely believes in his destiny that he's going to come out and win tomorrow. But it'll be a cracking match.
Do you think that in any way, shape or form that Agassi wasn't 100% physically today? The guys were talking on site that maybe they felt he was running on fumes, I think was the term that Peter used.
I think we can speculate, Bales, and it's easy to do this, you know, when we're in the studio, but I think really we have to give credit to Ferrero. He was playing a very high level of tennis, and I think this is sort of the occasion where we should say, Ferrero, you were too good today, and you deservedly came out and winning.
Let's just confirm where that leaves us in the men's championships. It's Juan Carlos Ferrero through to his first ever US Open final with a quite sparkling display over Andre Agassi's day, a 4-set victory for the Spaniards, 6-4 in the third. He's also the new world #1. Now, Andy Roddick, David Nalbandian on next live match for you from the Arthur Ashe Court. Let's get the thoughts ahead of this match with Leif Shiras and Mark Petchey.
Pre-tournament favourite Andy Roddick up against former Wimbledon finalist David Nalbandian. It's an interesting match on paper, but certainly Roddick has the edge going into this one. They've met twice before. Nalbandian hasn't got close.
Yeah, he's dealt out some punishment, Roddick, and he can do it with his serve and his big forehand. He has the firepower to push the Argentinian around, and Nalbandian has the horsepower. He moves around well, but that might not be enough to win him the match.
What can Nalbandian do to sort of upset Roddick's rhythm? Because that's been one of the features of Roddick's matches. He's basically been going through the match at his own pace.
Yeah, Nalbandian is going to have to find a way to get Roddick off balance, bring him into net, use some of his good defensive maneuvers to win the points. And he can certainly move with him in the back, but somehow he's going to have to take the attack forward because Roddick is playing with great patience and he's picking his spots, and that makes him very dangerous.
It's a very difficult schedule for all these men going through 3 best-of-5 matches in 3 days. Do you think, again, Roddick's style of play, that's something that favours him?
Yeah, absolutely, because he can beat you with his first serve, his second serve, or he can end the point with a forehand. Plus, he's shown a propensity now for going to the net and finishing with a volley. So the fact that he can end points quickly and beat guys convincingly in 3 sets, that means he's saving up energy. So that could be an important factor in his run here through to the finals.
It really should be a fascinating semi-final.
Roddick's certainly the favourite for this one. I think we all agree, but as Leif said, can Nalbandian take the attack to Andy Roddick? Is he adept at the net enough for you?
He's definitely adept in his tennis, Nalbandian. I think he's shown this week, beating Federer, having that match against Elanui yesterday, and what we've seen over the summer in Montreal. He's definitely got this tennis skills. The only doubt I have with Nalbandian at the moment is, can he perform on the biggest stage? And this for me, for Nalbandian, is the biggest stage. Wimbledon final, 14,000 people. He was playing an Aussie. Today, 23,500 people really willing Roddick on. And then the American public know the importance for Andy Roddick. So how will Nalbandian cope? Will he be able to relax? Because if he can relax, it's going to be one hell of a match.
But does Nalbandian have the volleying skills for you to attack and come forward?
I'm not sure he needs to necessarily come forward the whole time, Bells. I think what he needs to do is try. Roddick's shown these last couple of weeks that he's quite happy to hit big serves and stand a couple of feet behind the baseline, rally very patiently, and then all of a sudden hit that big forehand. Can Nalbandian be able to stand up the court and be able to manoeuvre Roddick with those glorious angle shots that he has, Nalbandian, off the forehand and the backhand wing, where he likes to take opponents out of the court? That will be the interesting factor today. But also another interesting factor, can Nalbandian focus enough on his serve? Because before in his matches he's lost serve maybe once a set. If he does that today, more or less it's curtains, because Roddick, once he gets that lead, he's a great front runner on his own serve.
Well, I mean, can Nalbandian return the Roddick serve? Nobody else has seemed to have been able to have done it so far. Right the way through, since the hard court swing that we've had, nobody's really got a decent bite on the Roddick serve. You just got to wait, you just got to bide your chance, you'll get a couple of second serves, and then you've got to try and strike. Try and put pressure on Roddick. We haven't really seen that in Montreal, in Cincinnati, here in the USA, but nobody's really extended Andy Roddick, except Marty Fish in the final. Is it going to happen tonight? I think the start is imperative for Nalbandian. He's got to get off to a good start, because if Roddick wins the first set and runs away with the first set, I can't see anything but a Roddick win. OK, well, the talking's done now. The players are walking out onto the